Welcome everyone to our CoH2 replaycast. This time we're going to have a 2v2 on Crossing in the Woods, and it is going to be between JRDN, playing as the Soviets in the South Spawn, along with his ally Gilgamesh, also playing as the Soviets, against Chinese person, playing as Wehrmacht, and one shot equals one kill, playing as Wehrmacht as well. So how about we actually talk about the map a little bit. Now, actually JRDN already picked Conscript Support Tactics. Interesting. Conscript Support Tactics obviously being a sort of underused commander. However, it's got its uses, and most importantly, it is a pretty fun commander to use with the Papasha upgrade on the conscripts and the rapid conscription, which is always very, very useful if you want to get a pretty big army out without spending too much manpower. Now, the map. Obviously, Crossing in the Woods is a very small map for a 2v2, and so the allies usually don't have as much of an advantage in the early game because you lack areas where you can flank more easily, because 3 or 4 machine guns well placed can pretty much lock down the entire map, if of course well used. And in fact, we do already see an MG42 out by one shot, one kill, and also one by China. So we're going to have a pretty strong Wehrmacht sort of force that's going to actually go on the right side of the map. Though for now, the Germans aren't really capping a whole bunch around the map. We do see a little bit of capping going on the JRDN on the left side of the map, which is going to be uncontested because both German players are going to the right side of the map with all of their stuff. And while that is sometimes a good idea in 2v2s, I feel like at the beginning of the match, and this is coming from a lot of 2v2s that I've played, it's in general better to just go your own ways, just go in separate ways and just attempt to capture as much of the map as possible, and then reacting to the situation, decide whether or not you should sort of group up in one area of the map with both of your players. Now, what this is going to mean is that Gilgamesh is going to have a bit of trouble. He's going to have guard mortar coordination tactics, which means that later on he's going to have access to the 120mm mortar, which is an excellent little weapon for this map. In general, it is a very useful unit to have, especially in 2v2s and 1v1s, in maps that tend to devolve into stalemates, such as this one, as is pretty much every artillery unit. Now, good usage of the MG42 will actually get in the shack. The fact that it got in the shack should have been a sort of warning sign for JRDN to actually get over here with his conscript squads, because over here, as you can see, there only is a door. There is no window. So he should have gone there with his conscripts, and that would have allowed him to pretty much easily sort of take the MG hostage in a way, because I believe that is also the only door of the building. So if he wanted to get out, he would have to get out right in front of 2 conscript squads, and that would have made it pretty hard for him to escape, unless he escaped pretty much just as he got in the building, sort of as quickly as possible with a full health MG. He would have been able to escape. But if he would have stayed in the shack with an MG that perhaps took a lot of damage, then he wouldn't have been able to actually get out of there. Now, on the right side, one shot, one kill was actually kind of abandoned, pretty much to his fate by his own ally. And I feel like China did a good decision there, just recognizing that his ally could sort of deal with his own sort of backyard, and managed to actually capture a few points on the left side of the map, keeping the MGs to sort of cover a few areas in the center and the left of the map. And that's going to be pretty good because the Germans really need a lot more territory right now. The Allies do have a bit of an advantage in terms of territory. Unfortunately, JRDN did not go for the fuel point, which makes it a little bit annoying for the Allies, because they could have had a fuel point contested over here on the right side of the map and a fuel point completely under their control on the left. But as it may, it's actually the opposite. The Germans have the uncontested control of the fuel point, and the Allies don't have theirs at 4 minutes in the game. Now, this still hasn't come into play because none of the players have gone for any tier sort of upgrades. We do have China going for the battle phase 1, so he might be able to get out a 2-2 soon enough. Now, unfortunately, a conscript squad will be wiped on the right side for Gilgamesh. He tried to sort of flank the machine gun, but he was only down to 2 men, and the sniper managed to finish him off. As you can see, already 2 kills on that sniper, and we've already got a bunker coming in from one shot, one kill, who will be trying to hunker down on the right side of the map to try and help out his ally on the left a little bit more. That's going to be good. He's also gone for a fuel cache on his point. Now, I feel like a fuel cache on the cutoff point by the road would have been a much better decision, but still, the fuel cache is a good sort of investment into the future with the manpower, because right now, the Germans are sort of looking to stabilize the situation, and if they can manage to bring out their later game units without any sort of early game, mid game troubles from the Soviet players, that's going to be great for them. Now, Gilgamesh going for a tier 1. He hasn't gotten any units out of the tier 1, and I feel like that is definitely a mistake. He may be going for the tier 1 to get the counter sniper to the German sniper, and unfortunately he's going to leave his combat engineers in the line of fire. They definitely deserve to be wiped over there. They stayed way too long in the line of fire of the machine gun and the sniper to be allowed to live. So that was a bit of a mistake from Gilgamesh, because he needed a combat engineer squad for minesweepers later, and also to build his own tier 3. He does have the resources to build a tier 3, and I feel like right now a T70 is the best choice for the Soviets. I feel like either of the two players should go for a T70, and at this point it's pretty much got to be JRDN, because Gilgamesh is kind of low on manpower, and when you're low on manpower as guard motor coordination tactics, it is pretty bad, because of course it is a pretty manpower intensive doctrine with the guards, 120mm mortar, which are both pretty expensive units, and then later on with the T-34-85s, which are also fairly manpower expensive tanks, both from a teching standpoint and from a just price standpoint. Now, the mortar is trying to kill the sniper, but the sniper does have 10 kills, and it's actually picking off the mortar crew as we are speaking. Also, the German Grenadiers are trying to do something about it, and probably it was mostly a spawning move, because as you can see right now, the sniper has to advance in order to see the sniper, rather the mortar. But before, since the Grenadiers were there, he could see the mortar pretty easily. Now, one shot, one kill may have actually lost the Grenadier squad somewhere. Let's check out the graphs. No, he hasn't. He's only produced one. That's interesting. Sorry for the sneeze. Yeah, I feel like the sniper was definitely the best decision so far out of the German players, and it's been helping one shot, one kill pretty tremendously on the right side of the map. I feel like Gilgamesh should have really gone for that counter sniper and tried his luck with the counter sniper. Of course, the Soviet sniper. Oh, that Grenadier squad being wiped is not good for China. He does have the 222 Scott car, as I said earlier. That is a very good decision. I feel like, however, he should have gone not for the 222, but for the 444, aka the double Scott car build, because right now JRDN has a huge amount of conscripts, and conscripts don't do necessarily too well against the armored cars, because of course the armored car is vulnerable to the anti-tank grenades, as JRDN may be trying to do, but he doesn't have anti-tank grenades researched. He's still getting them. It's about halfway completed, and for now the armored car will be able to easily sort of get these conscripts to retreat. I feel like it should definitely be the best choice for JRDN. He has actually used Hit the Dirt. In case you don't know what this is Hit the Dirt. It's the ability from the conscript support tactics that allows you to take a lot more damage and survive a lot longer with your conscripts. However, against the 20mm autocannon of the Scott car, it is not exactly going to be a lifesaver. Now, JRDN has focused most of his support weapons in the center, and I feel like this is a mistake, because most of the sort of static stuff of the Germans is focused on the right side of the map, so I feel like these mortars would have a much better sort of target selection if they were on the right side of the map. Now, the Scout car is actually not doing the best decision it could be taking right now, because as you can see, even just the crews of these support weapons, there's so many crews. Pretty much four weapon teams means 16 rifles shooting at you, and while the rifles of the weapon crews have a sort of accuracy penalty, of course the regular crews have a lot of penalties to accuracy and received accuracy, so they are easier to deal with for normal flanking squads, because these 6-man teams are very dangerous otherwise. That doesn't really matter with the accuracy against an armored vehicle, because of course the armored vehicle is also pretty much always going to be hit by the fire of riflemen. These guys should definitely be freed. So that was why those 16 rifles were able to DPS down that scout car so quickly, and you don't want to be doing anything weird like that. Now, this is definitely a mistake. Whoa, you can actually shoot from... Wow. I did not know this. Okay, well that's interesting. I did not know that you could shoot out of this building. I honestly thought that was a windowless shack, except for this window and this window, though apparently it's also got a window facing over here. Okay, I did not know this. Well, still, there is a half track on the field for 1 shot 1 kill, and that is a excellent decision because the fighting on the right side has devolved into a war of artillery and just general position warfare. And so the half track to reinforce his weapon teams is excellent. I feel like his mistake is not going for a mortar. I feel like the fact that he doesn't have a lot of manpower kind of stems from the fact that he has been sending his Grenadiers to die a lot, so he's lost a lot of manpower and just bleeding from Grenadier Squad, the Grenadier Squad losses. So I feel like he should have definitely been a little bit more conservative in using his Grenadiers, and that would have allowed him to get out a mortar and perhaps even a pack. As you can see, the T-70, while being pretty late, because this is a pretty late T-70, has managed to hit the field quickly enough to catch off guard 1 shot 1 kill. 1 shot 1 kill went for the incendiary armor piercing rounds on the machine gun. The half track will be actually forced to retreat by the T-70. The T-70 will actually catch the sniper and run cover. The sniper should have retreated right at the start of this engagement, and the failure to do so will be a very bad thing for 1 shot 1 kill, who will probably use the sniper. One thing is the fact that Gilgamesh is definitely chasing a little bit too much. There could have been a Grenadier squad with a Panzerfaust hiding over here, but it looks like the Grenadiers were actually wiped over here. So the 70 pretty much has free reign. No Grenadiers from China to be seen. The only Grenadier squad is at base, and it wasn't really brought up to actually help. The MG42 is actually not being repositioned to deal with the T-70 with incendiary armor piercing rounds, which are back up out of cooldown. And that is definitely a mistake because the T-70 will be able to flank it once again. And with the MG so low on HP, even just the machine gun on the T-70 will be able to easily wipe out the Vet-2 machine gun. And that's definitely not a good thing because the Vet-2 machine gun was the most important asset for 1 shot 1 kill. Also, the Opel Blitz truck will be destroyed by the rampaging Soviet light vehicle, and also the bunker will be very vulnerable to it because, remember, the bunker is very, very easy to destroy with these 45mm auto sort of quick-firing cannons of the Soviet T-70s. And after that, the fuel caches will be vulnerable, but there will be a Stug out from 1 shot 1 kill, and the T-70 actually doesn't do anything to circle strafe it in the sort of first contact moment, but later on, thanks to the superior mobility of the T-70, he manages to actually get behind the Stug. Unfortunately, he's actually bouncing from the rear armor, and even the hits that are actually sort of administered to the rear armor aren't doing that much damage. Of course, if 1 shot 1 kill can get some kind of help to the T-70, for example, this Panzer IV from his ally, China will be able to easily sort of help out his ally. The Stug is taking a lot of damage, but the T-70 will not be able to finish it off in time for the Panzer IV. Panzer IV takes it out in the first shot from the move, and right now the Germans have a triple cap going because Gilgamesh did not, in any capacity, capitalize upon the success of his Soviet light vehicle. Of course, he was kind of busy microing the T-70, however, he should have taken the time to order his conscript to just capture these points, because right now there are no bunkers, there are no machine guns on the right side of the map. He could just move up with his conscripts and just do a lot of damage to the Germans. Now, in the center, it does look like this machine gun will not be able to do much because, again, there are no windows facing the south from the shack. So this machine gun is in a very wasted position. I would definitely position it about over here, or perhaps even over here to cover this area. Now, some Panzer Grenadiers will be acquired by 1 shot 1 kill, and he did go for the Panzerschreck upgrade, which means that his munitions reserves have been depleted a little bit. But I feel like it is a worth sort of investment because he will need that. He'll need that extra AT later. I'm not sure why he went for a Scout Car. The Scout Car will be definitely in trouble, again, from the same combination of sort of rifle fire from weapon crews as earlier, and it will be destroyed once again. Now, there is a Panzer IV supporting the push, but the Panzer IV is on prioritized vehicles, and that means that the Pinto Mountain machine gun is not firing. Actually, it is. Wait, what? I thought... Okay, I guess they changed that. So I guess the Pinto Mountain machine gun is firing. However, it's actually running into a gauntlet of anti-tank guns. JRDM was actually pretty sort of far-sighted in getting these two AT guns, as I was sort of focusing on the left side of them, or rather the right side of the map, and it was a good decision out of him to get that underway. Now, the strafing run from the Stuka Ju-87, I feel like it was an attempt to do something about the anti-tank guns, but I feel like 1 shot 1 kill doesn't really understand what this ability is for. This ability is for sort of targeting infantry and making them pinned. It is not for... Oh god! It actually may kill the recovered Panzer IV, because the Pinto Mountain machine gun is firing at the Stuka. So the Stuka now knows where the Panzer IV is. If I can click on the... Wait, no. It doesn't? Okay, so there was a strafing run effective against the Panzer IV, but the Panzer IV will be finished off by these Panzer Grenadiers with Panzerschrecks. So that was kind of unfortunate for JRDN that China had the Panzerschrecks. And I feel like having the Panzerschrecks on both players, again, shows its worth, because right now they definitely need some kind of extra AT, especially if the Soviets do manage to get out of their own vehicles. Now, JRDN doesn't have any tiers built, but Gilgamesh has already gone for the tier 4, so he can build the T-3485s, and the T-3485s will be very effective against the tier 3 heavy strategy that the Germans have gone for. And I feel like the Ostwind was a mistake out of one shot, one kill. He should have gone for perhaps more Stugs, perhaps a tier 4. The Panzerwerfer would be very useful right now for both German players, because both Allied players have a lot of infantry and a lot of support weapons. So I feel like the Panzerwerfer is definitely the prime decision for both players. I feel like even if both of them went for that unit, it would be very effective. It would allow them to push on the right side of the map much further. And I feel like the main mistake that the Allies are doing is they're just being too defensive. I'm not sure what they're doing. They could just walk up to the left side, capture the fuel point, contest the EVP, use their mortars to take out the structure, which is very heavily damaged, and they could easily use their mortars to take it out and force the machine gun to either relocate or die from the barrage of AT. Bring up their combat engineers if there's some minefields, and of course it's S-minefields, so they know if they are there because they can see the signs. Of course, if you can see the signs, you know that there's an S-minefield, you know to upgrade a minesweeper combat engineer, which is something that right now the Allies are not doing. And again, they're just sending in their piecemeal units, and that is not a good decision. They could easily just gather up their forces, push for the center and the left side, and easily overwhelm the few forces that the Germans have. Because right now, the main weakness of the Germans is the fact that they definitely lack infantry that is effective against the Allied infantry and support weapons. Because, as you can see, China, 1 Grenadier, no veterancy, no upgrades, and 1 shot, 1 kill, 1 Grenadier, no veterancy, no upgrades. So that is not something that can, in any capacity, deal with the Allied support weapons or infantry, because, again, Gilgamesh, 2 construct squads, and if he wanted to, a guard's rifle, which I would definitely advise him to do, because it would help counter these vehicles as well. And JRDN, 3 constructs with Papa Shahs, and 1 is veterancy 2. And will definitely improve its veterancy on the sort of weaker German units. Now, there is a T-3476 out of Gilgamesh, and that is a good decision because he saw the heavy sort of armored presence of the Germans, and he felt that he needed the T-34 quicker than he could get out a T-3485. So I feel like T-3476 will be good for that reason, and also because it is much better against infantry than the T-3485, so it will be sort of useful in many different regards. Now, the Austin is actually being chased around by the T-34. It took a lot of shots from the, well-microed, actually, AT gun out of Gilgamesh. AT gun got 1 kill on the Stug and Isved 1. That was definitely the star of that engagement for Gilgamesh. Taken out 2 of the German vehicles, and unfortunately, a Panzerfaust will be shot at the T-3476. T-34 attempting to flank the Stug through the maze of buildings in the German base anyway. However, with the damaged engine, it will not be able to sort of get around it quick enough. And right now, the Stug will be continuing the chase, and the T-34 needs to absolutely try to keep the buildings in between it and the T-34. And right now, again, the Allies, look at the minimap, they're not moving their units to capitalize upon the fact that the German vehicles have been completely pushed out of the map. The German infantry are nowhere because they don't exist. The few units of German infantry that exist are at the base. And right now, the German support weapons on the left side are completely vulnerable to mortar fire. And the mortars are being kept near the base for some reason by JRDN. I feel like the biggest mistake that the Allies are doing, definitely, is just keeping these artillery units that they have, these light indirect fire units that could be firing upon these Germans from a relatively safe distance from about here, keeping them at the base, not really harassing with their infantry. Only now JRDN is sending his conscripts out to cap, but he's doing so in a blob manner. Now, good usage of the anti-tank guns, using the anti-tank guns to actually detonate the minefield is a really good thing. And again, this is why you don't blob cap, because he had his entire infantry force in one little place, and once the enemy saw that, he could direct artillery fire onto it. The German mechanized doctrine allows China to actually go for the LEFH artillery, and he went for the artillery piece, I feel like, in a pretty bad position. He should have gone the artillery piece in this position, because that would be much safer. I feel like at this point, an artillery piece over here could actually be vulnerable to mortar fire if these bunkers and this machine gun and this mortar are cleared. The mortars could just position themselves in the river and shoot the ever-leaving hell out of the crew of this artillery piece. So I'm not exactly sure as to why it was positioned so so forward. I mean, of course it is to fire at the base eventually, but still, I don't see what good it could do China to actually have an artillery piece that could fire at the base. Now, he does have the Heavy Panzer Corps Tier 4 out, and I feel like his ally is going to be the sort of Tier 3 bridge between the mid-game that the Germans have played, which was... It wasn't stellar. It wasn't stellar. Right now, the only reason they're in any way holding on to what they have is the fact that the Allies really have played it worse, despite the fact that tactically they won all the engagements, because I haven't seen one engagement where the Germans won in pretty much 15 minutes. The Allies simply haven't gone for the points. They haven't gone for any captures. And right now the Panzer IV is in a little bit of a pretty shitty situation because it decided to just throw itself at the Allied lines, and it will be pretty much destroyed by these anti-tank guns, because there's no way it can keep sort of navigating around this maze that is the anti-tank guns. They could just not dance around them quick enough for long enough. And there's also a Stug with six kills? What? A Stug with 6 kills, it kills 6 infantry. Oh, it's because it's got the Pintelbahn and machine gun. Okay. Okay, again, Gilgamesh just doing the bare minimum required to actually capture a point and keep himself alive. And I feel like that is not good. That is not good. I mean, it is good that he's actually doing it and not just keeping his infantry at the base, because if he had done that, right now the Germans would have a triple cap and the Allies would have pretty much lost already, which is not exactly good. But this is just like a bare minimum over the minimum. It's just not enough. JRDN should be using his conscripts that he's got a lot of and are not doing anything to just go on the left side. Send one squad to capture this point, one squad to capture this point, another squad to capture this point. It's going to get suppressed by the machine gun. Okay, now you know that there's a machine gun there with a bunker. You set up your mortars over here behind the little wooded area, and then you use your mortars to take out this MG bunker. Use the mortars to take out this MG and this house. Use the mortars to take out the German mortars. And then eventually, once you realize what the Germans are doing with their artillery in such a very exposed position, you actually just use your mortars to take out the artillery pieces. And especially since China only has Panzer Grenadiers as an anti-tank measure, right now the fact that JRDN has 2 T-34s and will soon have 3 T-34s, because he will have, in 1 minute, the manpower required to get another T-34, and he's got enough fuel for actually 2 T-34s, so in about 6 minutes, he's going to have 4 medium tanks on the field. He will be able to massacre these Panzer Grenadiers, because the Panzer Grenadiers, yes, they're very effective against the T-34s, but remember, the T-34s are very effective against the infantry as well, so they will be able to pretty much just charge through and run over all of the P-Grens while they are also pummeling them with anti-tank, or not anti-tank, main gun fire and machine gun fire. Now, there is a T-34-85 on the field for Gilgamesh, and that would be very important, because soon enough, China will realize he's got 400 fuel and will bring out probably a Panther from his Schwer Panzer quarters. In absence of that, he will go for a Brummbär, but I feel like the Panther is the better decision. He does have the pop cap for the Panther, I believe. No, wait, that's Gilgamesh. He will have the pop cap for a Panther. Yes, he will. So, especially once this machine gun goes down. And again, look at this. He can just flank. And right now, he will be taking a lot of damage from these Panzer Grenadiers and Panzer Treks. And this is why you don't send in T-34s without infantry support. But there will be an incendiary artillery barrage being fired. No, keep moving. Why are you stopping? No, why are you stopping? Okay, so he will be half lucky in that half of the shots from the Panzer Grenadiers miss, and the other half hit the sort of damaged T-34, knocking it out. But unfortunately for the Germans, the incendiary artillery is there, and China did not in any capacity try to avoid it. So again, excellent usage of the artillery, incendiary artillery, and pretty bad play by China to just not retreat his units. He could have just moved his units to the left side. He could have moved his MGs out of the buildings. He could have retreated his support weapons once they were out of the buildings. He could have retreated his mortar. Right now there is only a Stug between the Soviet armor and the sort of complete victory right now, because there's a lot of Panzerschrecks on the ground that if the Soviet infantry were to push up, again, where are the conscripts of GRDN? They're at the base. If the conscripts were pushing up along with the armor, they could have easily anti-tank grenaded these German vehicles. They could have captured the points. They could have captured the Panzerschrecks. They could have destroyed the weapons or captured them instead. They could have just captured the artillery pieces and moved them to fire against the base. I mean, just in one defiant barrage before the Germans come in to recapture the guns. They could have done that. They could have taken the mortar. They could have taken the points. They could have done so much more, but the infantry is at the base. Again, there's a reason it's called combined arms, and combined arms win games pretty much all the time. Because, again, why just send in one part of your army when you could just send in all of your army and just have a much better chance of winning? Again, it's not lobbying, it's simply common sense. I feel like if they would have just, instead of GRDN, instead of grabbing his armor and telling it to move over here, and if he would have grabbed his armor and his infantry and told it to move over here, that would have been a much better sort of outcome for himself. Right now there's only a Panther left for the Germans, and the Panther is not exactly that good against the Soviet infantry, because even with the pintle-mounted machine gun, which is only now coming up, it is not exactly the most effective vehicle against infantry. Grab the Panzerschrecks! Grab the Panzerschrecks! If he would have grabbed the Panzerschrecks, he would have been able to just shoot this Panther in the ass so many times with 2 Panzerschrecks. So he would have been able to pretty easily in 6 shots take out this vehicle. And 6 shots against a damaged engine Panther that's trying to limp back to base with the ass showing is not exactly that much. Again, I'm just not sure as to why you wouldn't be doing this. It's so, like, obvious. Okay, so he will grab the Panzerschrecks. Great. Get the mortar. Get the mortar. You don't want the enemy to actually just have the mortar for free. Or an alternative, bring up your T-34-76s, destroy the artillery pieces, destroy the mortar. In case you don't know how to do it, you just grab your T-34, you bring it up, you A plus left click, which is attack move, onto a piece of equipment, and that will destroy it. Unless it's like a weapon that's dropped on the ground, one that infantry can pick up, then that doesn't have a health bar. You cannot destroy that. But the mortars will be destroyed, the machine guns will be destroyed, the artillery pieces will be destroyed. You can also do this with your free anti-tank guns. Again, excellent decision in terms of build order, getting the free anti-tank guns, but you're not using them. Why are you keeping all of your support weapons so far back? You could honestly just select them all and blob move them in a way, and they would be more effective than what they are doing right now. Again, finally, on the right side of the map, Gilgamesh does something. He captures the fuel point. There's nothing that the Germans can do right now. He can only send a Panzer IV to sort of assist, and he will be able to use the artillery officer that he got from his assault support doctrine to recapture the points. However, again, if Gilgamesh were to just move up his support weapons, just move them up a slight inch, he would have been able to use the anti-tank guns to just fire on this Panzer IV as it approached. And with these 2 anti-tank guns, he would have been able to easily smash this Panzer IV to oblivion. You only need pretty much 3 rounds, 3 salvos of AT, perhaps 4, to actually take out... Actually, no, even less. You only need about 2 salvos of AT from 2 anti-tank guns to take out the Panzer IV. And right now, the second Panzer IV is attempting to assist, but it is very much low on HP. There is a T-34-85. Again, move up your anti-tank guns so they can cover your T-34-85. The anti-tank guns are actually on attack round. I'm not sure why you would know how to use attack round, but you don't know how to move up your anti-tank gun. I'm just dumbfounded at this point. Again, I feel like if you would just, if instead of attack rounding, you would have just attack moved, literally just attack moves your anti-tank guns, that would have been very easy for you to take out both of these German armored vehicles. And for some reason, they're hiding over here in this corner. Now, there is a pretty huge push, actually, on the left side. 2 Panthers and a Panzer IV command tank. That's actually pretty scary from China, because the Panzer IV command tank will be issuing sort of defensive bonuses and later on, I believe, offensive bonuses as well to the Panthers, and that's going to give them a lot of versatility, because this is a force that's scary. However, JRDN has free anti-tank guns, which is the perfect counter, because the anti-tank guns can do a huge amount of damage to the Command Panzer IV. They can do a moderate amount of damage against the Panthers, and what that would do is, once the Command Panzer IV is dead, then the Panthers are kind of isolated and without any anti-infantry support, at which point your T-34s, supported by your conscripts, can just move in and clean up the Panthers, because while the Panthers are focused on hitting the T-34s, and the T-34s are doing a little bit of damage to the Panthers, enough damage so that your anti-tank grenades on your conscripts can destroy the engines of the Panthers, and then your T-34s can flank the Panthers, get behind them, and at that point, pretty much even out the odds, along with perhaps bringing up your anti-tank guns because of the Panthers being damaged engine. You could easily use that to your advantage. Now, this may or may not be a good move. If China actually gets the spotting scope, this 222 is a good purchase. If he does not get the spotting scope, as it looks like he's doing, it will not be a good decision. And unfortunately, JRDN also made a mistake over here. He concentrated all of his anti-tank grenades on one Panther, and that is definitely a bad decision, because he could have spread out his anti-tank grenades, one on one Panther, one on one Panzer IV, and one on the other Panther, and he would have been able to destroy the engine of all the German vehicles. But unfortunately for the Germans, China is not exactly sort of using his Panthers in the way that they should have been used, aka flanking the anti-tank guns. He just kind of drove straight into the trap of the Zis guns of the Soviets, and in fact, even Gilgamesh was able to bring up some anti-tank guns to support, and that was definitely a good decision to support his ally. Unfortunately, JRDN is not bringing up his T-34s to assist. He could have just clicked on his T-34 while the Panther was about here, clicked on RAM, R plus left click. He could have been able to use the RAM as a gap closer. And what that does is essentially, you normally when the RAM is used, your vehicle just accelerates really quickly and goes towards the enemy. And I wish there was a more visual way to explain this. It goes towards the enemy, and if the enemy is also running away, and if he's also running away really fast, like a Panther actually running away full frontally, it is going to outrun your T-34 actually, because your RAM has a limited range. It cannot go in an unlimited way. So eventually your RAM is going to stop, but you will have closed the gap enough to actually get a few rounds in, because again, normally when you ram, you expect your gun to be disabled, because after the impact of the T-34 against an enemy vehicle, the gun is disabled, the engine is disabled, whatever. But if you don't reach the enemy, you still have your gun. The only penalty for that is a little bit of an engine sort of slowdown for a few seconds. And actually something destroyed the artillery pieces. I feel like that is the Katyusha. It's got a vehicle destroyed. I feel like this could be counted as a vehicle. And actually these conscripts will give me the answer. They've got 0 vehicles destroyed, and they're actually... So you know how to destroy... You know how to destroy... I'm mad at you right now, JRDN. You know how to destroy a weapon crew that's been abandoned. And you haven't done it. Why haven't you done it? Oh god, the Molotov. The Molotov doesn't damage this, actually. Actually, I've learned something. And what the fuck are these Panzerschrecks doing? Okay... Dimitri, you need to stop with the vodka when shooting at the, No! Don't! No! Finish it off! Why? No! No! I'm so mad. I'm so mad right now. Okay, he won't be able to finish off the Panther because for some reason China was not repairing it. But, what? Why? And also right now on the right side of the map, I'm not even sure what's happening on the right side of the map anymore. Somehow, these Panzer IVs are able to, from the front, take out the anti-tank guns. And right now, they're not destroying the weapons. I hate this. I hate this so much. I hate this so much. Oh my god. Okay, so at least Gilgamesh has a squad of conscripts, and he was able to retreat it quickly enough. I don't know what happened to his last T-34-85 and why he isn't building anymore. So the two T-34-76s will attempt to flank the German panzers, but that will not be successful because... Whoa! No! You know how to use the ram! Oh no, you know how to use a ram, but you do not do it when you want to chase the panther that has no HP. See, this is what pisses me off sometimes. It's like, you know how to do these things, so why don't you do them? It's like, oh my god, oh my god. I'm so mad right now. I am so pissed. I am so even pissed. You have 1,174 manpower and 430 fuel, and you're not sending your conscripts on suicide missions. At this point, the best thing you could do is just select all of your troops and attack move them onto an area. That is literally what you could do right now, and you would win. You would win because you are so superior to the enemy. Even the German players have a little bit of floating going on, but they have lost so much. China has nothing. China has gone to get tea, I think, because right now he isn't doing anything. He's got no units. He's got a lot of manpower to build units. He's got a lot of fuel. He could build a Panther, but he's not building any units. Good flank from the T-34-76. Learning from your mistakes, excellent. That was actually a really good flank. Up and around the vulnerable area, but right now, since there is smoke, the Panzer IV over here is actually being protected from the fire of the tank guns. Finally, the smoke clears. Gilgamesh was not using attack round this time. And a ram actually kills the Panzer IV. What is actually happening? You could have saved the T-34-76 at this point, but I don't feel like you were caring all that much. You could have definitely not died with the T-34-76 if you would have just waited on that and let the anti-tank gun do its job. Now, again, if you would have just attack moved with your anti-tank guns instead of bringing them up like this, if you would have just attack moved, they would have come in automatically, they would have set up automatically, and perhaps they would have also set up in a way that would have allowed them to fire at the enemy. Again, I feel like the main thing that you should do, JRDN, when you play, is just attack move more. This is something that I cannot stress enough, especially with weapon crews, weapon teams, support weapons that have a limited arc of fire, is just attack move. That is something that a lot of new players should just do. And you'll hear a lot of players talk about how, oh, you shouldn't attack move, it is noobish, blah 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 blah. You should position your things manually. But no, I feel like the mistake that a lot of players do is they just don't in any way micro their support weapons. So how can you expect them to use their support weapons in a good way if they just do not have the capacity? Because they're new players, they still have to be sort of still have to improve their micro, they still have to improve their unit control, they still have to sometimes learn how to use the units themselves. How do you expect them to get the correct positioning of an anti-tank gun while there is a huge armored engagement going on? And that's something that really, really, really pisses me off about certain casters, that they're like, oh my god, you're blob moving your support weapons, or you're blob moving your you're blob moving and your attack moving your support weapons. Of course, they're talking about, like, usually they're talking about better players, but for newer players, I feel like attack moving is extremely underrated. And if right now the Soviet players, this entire game, would have just attack moved all of their troops, except the conscripts, actually. The conscripts with Papashas should not be attack moved, they should be just click moved, right-clicked. Because, of course, the closer they are to them, the enemy, the better. And keeping them at range with the attack move, where they will automatically stop and attack whatever they see, is not good. Because you want the Papashas at a closer range, you want them as close as possible. And again, if they would have just attack moved this entire game, after the... yeah, he's actually right, he's playing 1v2. If he would have just attack moved the entire game, after the machine guns were defeated in this push over here, they would have done... Because small deck Chinese won't play. Oops. Oops. Yeah, see, that's... no. Just no. Again, see, like... I'm so pissed. I feel sorry for you, Dimitri. I'm just so pissed right now, because he could he could have done so much more himself. Okay, and then he trash talks his ally. I have no words. So this is the end of the match. Now, what could the Germans have done differently? I've talked all about what the Allies could have done differently. What could the Germans have done differently? I feel like China was doing it a little bit right, but then just refused, and his brain just kind of went into shutdown mode. He wasted his advantage when he had all the sort of little camp over here with the artillery, the machine gun, the bunkers. He wasted that by not in any capacity using that and getting some more mobile units and attacking into the enemy areas and just sort of pressing the advantage, not helping out his ally in any capacity as well. That was his main mistake. And then later on, when he actually had the mobile force with the Panthers and the Panther Grenadiers, he kind of just wasted it on a frontal charge against a... Honestly, the defense from JRDN over here, it was well prepared. I mean, obviously there were 3 anti-tank guns, 2 machine guns, 2 mortars, the conscripts waiting to ambush, the T-34s waiting to ambush. Of course, I'm not sure why you would defend the literal cutoff point when the enemy isn't even trying to capture your frontline points. But that is another this is another topic entirely. What the German player really lacked also was just using his manpower. He was even worse in this regard than JRDN, who did have pretty much full force the entire game. And so, because he played so defensively, he was not able to use his manpower. But China was even worse. He did not only float more, he also floated with less of an excuse, because JRDN was close to the pop cap pretty much for half of the game. But China was not close to the pop cap for half of the game. After he completed his artillery pieces, he just stopped using manpower. And I'm just not sure why. It just doesn't make any sense to me. One shot, one kill. I mean, I feel like he had the right idea with the unit composition that he was going for with the Panzerforce and the Stugs. But everything else was just wrong. I just don't even know where to start. I mean, he could have, at the start of the game, gone for a mortar, and that would have allowed them to counter the Soviet mortar, to counter the machine gun that was in the shack, to counter the Soviet troops that were in this building as well, and just have a lot more of a dynamic play over there. He could have gone for a much quicker 222 or a T70. That was T70, a pack. The 222 can counter the T70 if coupled with Grenadiers, and especially the double 222, the 444, can easily outflank the T70, and the autocannons from the back will be able to easily penetrate the T70's armor. So I feel like that would have been a pretty good decision out of him, but he didn't do it. And I feel like, yeah, that was a really big mistake. And yeah, being unprepared against that kind of a thing is not exactly what you want to happen. Oof. I feel like that's over. I just don't have any. I don't have any more. My juice is just out. I just don't.